Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. This is really something kind of awesome that we don't really get to do very often here. So it's really great that everybody's here, and I just want you guys to give a warm welcome to two fine gentlemen. First we have Daniel Wyatt from Mixmaster Wyatt Academy and Talib Kweli. Come on up, gentlemen.
What's up? I feel like holding a mic.
Yeah.
You want to hold a mic?
No, I like this hands-free. It's like a wireless with a wire.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Somebody like my joke.
Just want to thank IAR for having us today, and Mr. Kweli, a celebrity in the building.
Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all taking y'all time out on a Friday night.
And likewise, we're gonna get right into it. I want to talk a little bit of like a portrait of an artist as a young man. If you could paint a picture growing up in Brooklyn. See, all right, it's the literary. It's coming out. It's coming out of the pores. And then I want to talk a little bit about studio stuff. And
okay.
I know you probably you get all kinds of questions, I'm sure. But I want to know, do you have one headphone on and one off? And if let's talk some studio stuff.
Okay.
We'll talk about how you like to write. What's your favorite place to write? I got all that studio stuff. And then we'll get to Donald Trump and all that stuff. We got to get that reality out too. I mean, this is, all right. So, could you take us back? Just paint a picture, if you could, a little bit. Growing up in Brooklyn, when did you were, I'm sure, like a regular kid, and then hip hop took you. What happened?
Yeah, I'm born in 1975, so by the time I was 10 years old, hip hop was about 10 years old, and it was very popular in New York City, to whereas like in '85, hip hop was part of the cultural fabric of the city. You couldn't travel around the city without experiencing hip hop. You see b-boys on the train breakdancing. Somebody have a boombox. You see graffiti on the walls, all on the trains that traveled all through the train, every 5 boroughs, going all city. On the radio, hip hop was still subculture, underground culture. But on the radio, hip hop was influencing. You had acts like Run DMC maybe on the radio by '85 with the Aerosmith record, or like You Be Illin' maybe made it to the radio. But hip hop was still, you had records like Shannon, Let the Music Play, and certain other records that incorporated hip hop, even if it wasn't dominating on the airways as it is today. So you really couldn't avoid it. But my parents didn't listen to hip hop, and I wasn't a cool kid. I was a nerd. Back then, nerd was a bad thing to be. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop was my introduction. Was a way for me to connect with my peer groups when I was in junior high school.
Junior high?
Yeah, junior high. I always loved poetry. I wrote poetry. I wrote plays. My father collected records. I knew a lot about music. I didn't know a lot about hip hop. I knew a lot about all other types of music.
What did he play? What did he like?
When he was in college, he was he called himself a DJ in college. He went to college, and his first year of college was '68, I think. So he was playing all time. He lived in Greenwichville. He lived around here. He was hanging out in Washington Square Park, and he was
jazz head.
He was a jazz head, but rock and roll, psychedelic rock, funk music, blues, R&B, Motown. My father was very, very diverse. My mother was more into just straight R&B and soul and black music. But my father was into every kind of music, and he had records. He collected records. I never understood why people didn't have music. Growing up, it was just normalized. In my household, there were records lining the walls, and so hip hop in '87, '88, '89, when I was going to junior high school, was sampling a lot of those records that were in my house.
Sure.
And that was a way for me to connect with a different generation, liking these hip hop records, and then going back to see how they made the beats. I would read the credits and see that they sampled a record that my father owned. Was a great thing for me, and it made me love hip hop even more.
Which neighborhood in Brooklyn?
Did I grow up in Park
Yeah,
Slope?
Park
I grew up
Slope.
in Park Slope.
Okay.
And then when I was about 11, 12, we moved to Flatbush.
Brooklyn, we did it. Okay, so where were you the first time you heard Criminal Minded? Where were you? Like what?
First
room?
time I heard Criminal Minded, the song or the album?
The album. Maybe the Bridges.
I didn't get into Criminal Minded. I was late on Criminal Minded because Criminal Minded came out like 87.
Yes.
I first started to listen to hip hop around 87.
Right. You could have. How old were you?
87, I was 12.
Yeah.
Right? So I was into Public Enemy, I was into Rakim, I was into Kid and Play,
Okay.
I was into Salt and Pepper. With Herbie Lovebug, I like the Salt Shakers. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But Criminal Minded, I listened to Red Alert on Kiss FM, and he used to play a lot of Boogie Down production music. But when I started listening to hip hop, KRS was, Scott LaRock had already passed away. He'd already been killed. KRS was working on his second album. I started listening to hip hop around the time By Any Means Necessary came out.
Okay.
So I was really into that. That was my introduction to Boogie Down Productions. I had to go back and revisit Criminal Minded. Matter of fact, Criminal Minded, there was a resurgence around 1990 where KRS was doing a live hip hop album. And he was going around the clubs performing live, and sort of South Bronx and Bridges Over experienced sort of a resurgence in 1990-91.
Yep.
It was being played on the radio, like they became hot again in the clubs.
Yeah.
But that was like the second coming of those records.
Your first. Okay, so junior high, Brooklyn, music in the house, music everywhere. Who was your first friend, or who said, let's make a song. Let's make a song. Let's make it let's put it down. Let's record something.
John Forte.
I know it very well.
Yeah, John Forte recorded my first demo tape. He produced my first demo tape.
I didn't know that.
John Forte is maybe a year or two older than me, but he's somebody that I looked up to because when we were kids, when I was 14, 15, he was in the music industry. He was running around like my first
Fugees.
job. Yeah, no, before Fugees.
Before
My
Fugees.
first job in the music industry was working for Jessica Rosenbaum, who still to this day throws parties. She has a company called Stress Entertainment, and she managed Funkmaster Flex, DJ Enough, who was from my neighborhood, Mad Wayne, Biz Markie, a couple other DJs at the time. But this is before Hot 97. Hot 97 was a freestyle station back then.
Oh yeah.
And John Forte, she managed John Forte as well. But he was producing records. We was in Brownsville in East New York with Shabar Allah and Allah Son from Population Click, rest in peace Allah Son. A lot of 5% dudes was around me at that time. John Forte is 5% dude.
I spent a lot of time with John.
Yeah.
He smoked so much cigarettes, and my eyes were
Yeah,
burning.
yeah.
And this dude, he was an interesting guy, right?
Yeah,
he
he
went to
smoked a
prep
lot of
school. He had quite an interesting life, and then all the other stuff that happened, and amazing. I didn't know that you guys were connected. Okay, so what was the first song you went into the studio, you recorded? Like, what was your first track? Do you remember? I mean,
the early stuff with Forte, it was more posse cuts. I hadn't really found my style as a solo MC, so it'd be like me, Forte, and my man Rubik's, or me, Forte, and Mr. Man from the Bush Babies, who was also went to Brooklyn Tech with me back then.
okay.
My first song that I recorded solo was with a producer named Self. Now that we have Pro Tools and we have laptops and everything, like, man, back in the day, like, in order for me to record, my first song I recorded before Forte was, I would make pause tapes. Y'all know what pause tapes are? Yeah. If anybody don't know, we take like a tape of an instrumental, play it for 4 bars, press pause on the cassette. You know what I'm saying? And then do it again.
Yeah.
And keep going for 5 minutes till you made a 5-minute instrumental. So I would listen to Marley Marl, Red Alert, tape a song like Dak Nicholas one, EST, Philadelphia rapper. He had a song that had like 4 bars that I liked. And I literally, for 2 hours to make this. And then I would take a boombox, 2 boomboxes. Like my father had a Moran stereo, and I would play the instrumental out of that, and then a boombox which you could record and stand in between the two. And that's how I recorded my demo tapes. So by the time I started working with a producer, his name was Self, he was like the dude in the neighborhood who had equipment. and I don't know what he had.
4-track maybe.
I have no idea. Like, just so y'all know, I don't know shit about equipment. I'm very analog. I just rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know anything about computers, making beats, none of that. You know what I'm saying? I just like music, and I know music, and I rap. But that was the first dude. Self had a studio, and that was a big deal. But he was a little older. He was like in his early 20s. He had a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? He had a job. You know, things that we was like, and he would be like, yo, I got like an hour and a half free. Like from 7 to 8:30, then I gotta go eat dinner with my girl. And I remember that used to annoy me. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to be really annoyed, like, I can't get in the studio, you know what I'm saying? But Self made beats and he recorded my first solo songs, which I don't really remember the names of those either.
Do you have that recording anywhere? Does anybody have it? Maybe not.
Nah, for the stuff that I think
it's on a
people
cassette somewhere in a
desk
or something. Okay, so from Self, what was the next step from there?
The next step from there was going to Cincinnati. I had started going to college at NYU, and my roommate was from Cincinnati, Ohio, and a friend of his that I had become friends with invited me to Ohio over a weekend to see what's going on. He told me about this group named Mood that he wanted me to meet. So I was in New York. I had dropped out of school by then. I didn't have a job. I was back living with my mother's house after having lived on my own for 2 years, and lived on my own for 6 years if you count boarding school. Yeah. And I just was like, I'm gonna go to Cincinnati and see what's popping out there. And I went out there and I met hi-tek. And hi-tek was working with a dude named Vicious Lee. They had a group. It was Vicious Lee and hi-tek, and it was real dope. But Vicious Lee got locked up soon, like a couple weeks after I met him. Okay. And so hi-tek was sitting there with all these incredible beats, but the hi-tek beats, and this kid, he was maybe 19, 20 when I met him in Cincinnati, Ohio. His beats were, to me, to the caliber of Easy LP, Buck Wild, LES, Diamond D, the people in New York who were prolific at the time. Pete Rock, Premier, probably the kings of that sound, that style. But hi-tek was, as an amateur, making professionally sounding music out in Cincinnati. And I felt like being from New York, I felt like I discovered a gold mine.
Yeah. So you had to leave home in a way to like
get
the opening.
I did. When I left home, like those cats in Cincinnati, the economy for young black people in Cincinnati now is shit. Back then, it's like every person I knew stole drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like that was, and like nobody had a job. Yeah. But it's a gift and a curse. The flip side of it is what I saw was musicians being independent and not being dependent on. In New York, we were a little bit spoiled at that time by the industry being in New York City.
Yes.
So we could just get on a train and go to a show and meet KRS-One or go to a label and shop our demo. And there was we were hungry creatively, but we weren't hustlers. I wasn't rolling with hustlers. We was broke. We was jumping the turnstile, you know, sharing dollar hoagies and drinking quarter waters and, you know what I'm saying, like drinking Mystics and Arizonas and, you know what I'm saying, like, and hi-tek and them, all of them, they all had apartments. They all had Pathfinders. They all had their own sack. Yeah. They all had studio equipment in their house. Yeah. Like these dudes would face blunts solo. Me and my crew, we was sharing. You know what I'm saying?
Did you have a cachet because you had the New York stamp on you? Because New York, hip hop started here. I don't care what anybody says. And you know, then LA, then we had Atlanta, then we had Houston. Everything else started coming together, but it really started here. And it wasn't national at first.
Yeah.
I used to take tapes, Chuck Chill Out tapes and Red Alert tapes back to Oakland and play them to Oakland people who only listened to funk. It was funk. And they were like, what is this? And I was like, you don't know what's happening in New York, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to Cincinnati, they were very much into the black people in the subculture, the hip hop, they were very much into the same hip hop that we were into in New York. Yeah. But they were in the Midwest. So they appreciated, you know, MC Breed recipes. They appreciated Dr. Dre. They appreciated the South in ways that most people from New York didn't at the time.
Because they were in the middle.
They were in the middle. So it's like, they respected, they were B-boys. They were all B-boys. They grew up breakdancing. So they appreciated the culture. hi-tek was making beats. He was Premier and Pete Rock were his favorites. And now let me rephrase that. He sounded to me like Premier and Pete Rock. Yeah. But if you asked him to this day, he would have told you back then that Dr. Dre is his favorite. And then he ended up working with Dre. You know what I'm saying? And well, it was interesting because, like I told you, we was broke. But we were very creative. I was running with Sons of Man and Makiba Motorcycle and Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Right. That was my crew back then. Most Def. This is
Sure.
my crew. Jean Grey.
Sure.
We weren't famous mainstream, but Mood hi-tek. They had heard of us
Yeah.
being in the hip hop culture. So while I was impressed by their efficiency, I was impressed that they had studios. I was impressed that they were self-sufficient. They were impressed that I was from New York.
Yeah. And you had a grind.
Yeah.
New York has a grind. Sometimes you go other places and you're like, everybody speed up and let's get it going. Everyone's too laid back. And I think that you see that when you go other places.
But I mean, I gotta commend their grind because I remember they would drive their
Sure.
MPVs and their Pathfinders up here, and they would come hang out with artists that they respected and looked up to and were inspired by.
Yeah.
I remember Dante from Mood being like, I think I got more money than all these rappers. So I had to appreciate their grind too.
Yeah. So when you let's talk about the studio a little bit. Let's talk about writing first. Where would you go to the studio? Someone would loop the beat. You'd say, "Don't bother me for a minute," and would you have a pen and paper, and write it in your head, and then write it down? What was your process for writing? And did it change over time?
Yeah, it's really varies song to song to song to song to song.
Okay.
There's not one pattern or formula to writing a song for me. Also, yes, over time, I've become more proficient, more efficient. I've become more professional. It's more of a job over time. So there's times in my career that I've just wrote a song just because I had to pay a bill.
Sure.
I try not to do that anymore. I moved my career in a place where I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, I mean, I learned how to just make it into a skill that I could use but when I first started, there were no beats. And it influenced for me. It influenced my style greatly. The early criticisms of my style that I started hearing less and less, but it was very heavy early criticism, was the overwhelming loquaciousness of the style and me trying to jam words into places where they didn't fit.
But you did it, man. And you would always do these acrobatics, and then at the end of the phrase, you'd land right on your beat. Like what?
I mean, I feel like I did that.
You did though.
That's how I personally feel.
That's the way I took it.
And of course, it was meant to mirror jazz artists, trumpeters, saxophone players.
Yeah.
But that style developed because I had notebooks and notebooks of rhymes that I wrote. That when I started getting access to production, when I started getting invited to studios and being able to use studios, I now had to fit the rhymes to the beat. So that was me trying to fit all these rhymes that I already wrote to the beat. Now, when I became a musician for a living,
That's deep.
that's changed. I no longer wanted to do that.
Right.
My paradigm shifted, and it became more important to me to become a piece of the music rather than to try to fit these rhymes, these pre-written rhymes to the beat. It became important for me to say, well, what is the music doing first?
Yeah.
The music has to drive the conversation. The music has to decide what I talk about, what I sound like, where I place the words. It's like evidence saying it's not where you place your words, it's where you don't. Or when I heard Slum Village, when I was first listening to Slum Village, and I was like trying to out-rap everything and over-rap, and then I heard them like, it's fantastic, what? And they sometimes weren't even finished the word, but it still sounded and felt funky. So
Like a Future.
Yeah, I mean
the mumbling style.
And it feels good. And see, that's liberated for me. When I hear Future, when I hear artists like that, a lot of people from my age and my generation, it bothers their sensibilities. But for me, I hear the freedom in the freedom, the sheer joy, and being able to just be like, really just going wherever the music takes you.
And being who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had to then, after a few years, I then had to go back to my old style. Because after a few years, I started getting bored with myself. I started feeling like paint by numbers. So I had to be like, well, what is it about how I used to rap? I'm like, I used to just rhyme without the beat. So then I had to try to change my style a little bit so that it feels like I'm doing what you said you liked,
Yes.
but I'm doing it as I'm writing to the beat.
So that's amazing to know that you wrote whole songs just as poetry into a void without hearing music. I don't think a lot of guys did that. I mean, I know a lot of guys did that.
I think a lot of, I mean, I'm talking about when I was 12, 13 years old. So I think most people when they that age, most serious MCs who started at that age, well, at least when I was that age, so in 88, I don't know what a 12-year-old would do nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But back then, I would write rhymes. You had a book of rhymes. You had a book of rhymes, and you didn't always have a beat. You would just be sitting in class and you'd think of a rhyme, and you'd write a whole rhyme, and then you get to the lunchroom, and you'd be like, here's my rhyme, and you'd beat on the table, and you'd create a beat to your rhyme. You create a beat to your rhyme, as opposed to rhyming to the beat.
Were you thinking about 8 bars and 16 bars or 24
Oh no, I
bars?
learned that from John Forte. I went in the studio and I kicked like a 64-bar rhyme. And John Forte said, no, you need to have a hook.
Yeah.
And I said, why? And he said, nah, it's a song. We have to create a song. There's a format. You need 16 bars. And I argued with him that day. I remember.
And he was right.
And for that particular song, he was right.
Get By is a perfect song. It's a perfect song.
That's a good one.
No, it's a perfect song. You wouldn't change a thing about it. It's an incredible hook. It's honest. It's personal. It's inspiring. It inspires you every time you hear it. I have a very funny memory of being with Tina Ferris at Meedem, which is the French licensing thing, and we had this shitty rental car she made me drive, and it was when your song came out, and she was like, this is my jam, and she had it on blast, and for 4 days, we were driving around France and shit, and it was just on repeat. It's a perfect song. Tell us, it's a perfect song. Tell us about that song, like how did that evolve?
At that time, I was building a relationship with Kanye. I had met him, he came to my session for Quality looking for Mos Def. And he had beats. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like Kanye West. He did some beats with Beanie Siegel, play me some beats. So he played me like 3 beats. He played me like Gorilla Monsoon Rap, Good to You, a couple other things. And the same way I described me and hi-tek and how I felt, that's how I felt when I met Kanye. I'm like, how is this amateur making this level of music, and why isn't everyone talking about this? That's how I felt. So a few months later, he sent me another batch of beats. A couple of the beats had made some of his mixtapes and College Dropout that in there, but Get By was in that batch. And I stalked him for that beat. There was something about that beat that I knew. I didn't know what it was to be, but I knew that it was mine. And he was very hesitant. His career was taking off at an amazing rate at that time.
Yeah. So
I remember specifically, he was like, Mariah Carey likes that beat and Pharoah Monch likes that beat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was like, fuck both of them. Like, give me that beat. You know what I'm saying? And I remember, it's funny when I think about it because I hadn't written the song.
Yeah.
I just remember calling him like once or twice a week. Like, what's up with the beat, bro? What's up with the beat? What's up with the beat? And it was like, my album was done. Get By was probably the last song I recorded for Quality.
Yeah.
And the album was done. And it was like, in my mind, I'm like, I just need maybe one more. And I heard that beat and I'm like, that's it. And so when he finally said I could record it, the refrain, just to get by, that just kept going. That was in my head as soon as I heard the beat. That was me moving into the space of letting the music tell me what to write about.
Yeah.
And so my first verse is, I say just to get by just several times in that verse,
Right.
because that's kind of where I was at with it. And see, just so y'all know, I'm a lyric writer. I don't know how to write melodies. I'm melodic by nature, but that's not my skill, is writing melodies or writing hooks. I've never been good. I've written some great hooks, but I've got 15 albums. Out of 15 albums, I've maybe written 10 really great hooks. I know how to find people who help me write great hooks, or I have some feature to do a hook, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not really my skill set. So to me, just to get by, that was the hook.
Yeah.
And then Kanye, when he heard what I did, he sang that hook in that voice. You know that singing voice Kanye has? You know, where he can't really sing, but like, he sang that hook. He was like, this morning, I woke up, and he was like, that's the hook. And then he did, he did all that. He did all of that.
Okay.
And then he was like, we should get the Harlem Boys Choir to do it, right? Which he ended up getting them an album later. But they were expensive at that. They were like 10,000 or something, like 15 or something that in my mind was like, oh my God, there's no way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I got my friend Kendra Ross, who also went to NYU with me, and she's also a great jazz singer, a gospel singer. She got some of her friends, and we came and tried to recreate a choir based on what Kanye had wrote.
Where were you physically when you wrote those verses? Were you at your house? Were you in the studio?
Yeah, Platinum Island. I was in
the studio.
In cutting room in Platinum Island.
Did you write it quick, the verses? Was it one afternoon?
Yeah, that song was my 2 verses were written in one day. Yeah, they were written in one day. Not, I wouldn't say quick. Quick is 5 minutes. Like,
Okay, no, but
but
one day
yeah, it
is
took
quick.
a day. It took about a day.
Did you revise them? Would you record and listen and be like, I want to change it, or was it
No.
kind of a burst, flew onto the tape?
For that song, I knew, in my mind, I was like, I think the reason why that song is as classic and timeless as it came out to be, because in my mind, I was like, this song has to be better than every song on Quality. Like, I was already proud of the album.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna add a song to it.
Yeah.
It's gotta be better than other songs. It can't be just as good.
It was, in a way, the biggest commercial radio success for sure, right? For you.
Maybe,
Most spins or something.
you know what? I think that Hot Thing might have got more spins.
Okay.
To Get By at the time, but over time, I think obviously Get By gets a lot more spins. Over since it came out, obviously, yeah.
Did you, when you were doing early stuff in Raucous, was that your vision? You're like, I'm gonna be on commercial radio. I'm gonna be.
Absolutely.
100%.
100%. And there was no, when I first started, there was in my mind no divide between underground and commercial hip hop. There was no. Funkmaster Flex was on Hot 97 playing Gangstar, De La Soul, Nice Smooth Tropical Quest records at that time.
Yep.
So he was playing Souls of Mischief 93 to Infinity in the club. People was dancing to it.
Yep.
So in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be on the radio, I'm going to be on MTV, I'm going to be on BT, I'm going to be a famous rapper. It wasn't, I'm going to be underground or independent and backpacker. It was like, nah, I rap and I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be like LL Cool J. Yeah. My head is like a shark's fin.
Was your first take your best take usually, or would you listen back and be like, I could do that better?
There's a song I got called Down for the Count with Rod Digger and Exhibit. When I recorded it, they were 2 of my favorite MCs. They still are, even though Exhibit can be kind of weird sometimes. But as far as MCs, they're 2 of my favorite MCs. Like, Exhibit and Rod Digger recorded on that song before I laid my verse. And I was the newbie. I was the new kid on the block. So I was like, they can't be better than me on my song. So that verse on Down for the Count, my verse on Down for the Count, my favorite verse on the song, I don't know. Rod Digger set it off so well. Exhibit ended it so well. I don't think my verse is my favorite. But what I remember is I spent 15 hours recording that one verse to the point where I lost my voice.
Wow.
Because I was so highly competitive that I was like, I can't let them out rap me on my own song. You know what I'm saying? So I kept doing the verse, or I would play the verse again, for hours until I lost my voice and couldn't record for a couple of days. And now when I listen to the verse, technically, I like the verse. Technically, my bars is crazy. It was like I put, you know what I'm saying? It's dope. But when I listen to it, it sounds stiff and cold to me. It doesn't, and it's because I know that I was trying to rap perfect.
Yeah.
And so the lesson for me is to never do that again. Now what I do now 20 years later, what I do is if I find myself getting frustrated after 3 or 4 takes, I don't do that song for the rest of the day. If I'm in there and after 3 or 4 takes I don't get it, I put it away. Try it again, because I'm not gonna waste my time forcing it. It feels better when it's natural and organic.
What do you like? When you do your verses, do you like people, like everybody in the lounge, smoking, drinking, cheering you on, having a show vibe? Or do you just like you and the engineer get in your zone? Or do you like the party performance thing?
It depends on the song.
Okay.
I definitely, but I do like that vibe you're talking about as I'm putting the album together. Recording the verses is more personal most of the time.
You don't want people around.
Yeah, I don't want people around. But it's not that I don't want them, but I work better. I'm more efficient.
Yeah.
Certainly there's songs I recorded with the booth full of people.
And people were cheering, and you came in out of the booth.
Yeah.
And people were like, you killed it, and
every song is different.
Yeah.
Every song is different. But I do definitely enjoy that quiet respect of. I do absolutely enjoy when you come out the booth and everybody in the room is like, yo, you killed
You
that.
killed it, and it's
You
fun.
know,
And it's a little bit of
without
like,
you having to ask.
You know, there's always this mythology around Big that he never had a piece of paper.
Right.
You know, he was always like, I'm ready, boom.
Right.
And he might go back and do it a couple times or whatever, I can do that better. But that he never was like this.
I never saw Big record, so I don't know if that's true.
How about for you though? Would you have your
No,
notes?
I'm not like that at all. But what I will say is, Mos Def is like that.
He likes his notes.
No. What I'm saying is,
Oh, he's off.
He does write. He writes rhymes. He has written rhymes. But I'm more than once I've seen him go in the booth and do what they say that Big and J do.
Okay.
More than once I've seen him go in the booth. And Brown Skin Lady is an example. Like when you listen to that song, when J Rose played us that beat, Mos just was like, brown skin lady, and then he just went in there and did what was on his mind. With me, I had to take it home and sit with it for a month. You know what I'm saying? Like
Different process.
Yeah, it's a very different process for me. I you know, I can do that now. I possess that skill now, and I do that later in my later albums. Prisoner Conscious, Gravitas. You know, me and Styles P dropping an album next week. You know what I'm saying? I'm more confident and comfortable to do that now because I've already proven myself. But I wasn't doing that earlier in my career.
Could you murder people in a freestyle in front of people, like in a cipher? Could
Not
you be
today.
like,
Back in the days, a murder, I could hold my own today. Today, I could hold my own. I would be decent. I'd be willing to bet there's at least 4 or 5 people in this room who could out freestyle me right now. However, I said, I'd be willing to bet.
We're not getting into
I'd be
that.
willing to bet. However, yeah, back in the days, like 20 years ago, yeah. But I mean, yeah, that's not, my freestyle skill is not as sharp because I've sharpened other tools in my shit. You know?
I know you started with poetry, writing with the rhyme book and writing without music and that kind of thing. There seem to be sometimes 2 branches of the tree, like talk about supernatural. I don't think he could write anything down.
Yeah, Supernatural, and this is with all due respect, and he'll tell you this himself, he was, at that time, he was having difficulty not just creating songs, but getting people to take what he was trying to do seriously.
I think he was such a performer that took the energy in the room and the topics, and he would look at something and just go. I don't know if he could, you know, he wasn't that kind of a writer. So it seemed like there was like a freestyle kind of thing and then a real writing kind of thing. Did you have both, would you say?
I did, like, you know, when I was 20, 21, you know, 22, when I was in Washington Square Park, I could say that I could hold my own with Adolf the Assassin.
Yeah, sure.
Supernatural, Juice, all the early freestyle kings, you know, back Wordsworth was ill back then.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
but yeah, as I started making records, the same way my focus shifted away, I started focusing on rhyming to the beat. The more I focused on rhyming to the beat, first I focused, well, let me write to the beat. Well, I need a hook. Well, I need to make records that are about what people are going through. Like, you know, back in the days, I was making records, a lot of hip hop was about hip hop. It was about rap, and everything sucks, and everything is whack, and everybody's whack, and I'm the only real person. But then as you grow as an artist, you know, I went to a screening last night for T.I. new video. He just did a 20-minute video where he's playing 3 different characters. And I said, man, he was like, I'm expanding my reach as a storyteller. You know what I'm saying? Like, you grow. Yeah. You stop being, I think, you know, once you start doing music for a living, you start wanting to be, it's like the Beatles when they first came out, and it's like, it sounds like, you know, dudes with guitars in the garage, and then 4th album, they're like, well, I want to get Phil Spector. I want a wall of sound now. Like, you have access to more resources. And so your focus starts to shift. But I remember going on the road with Common on Electric Circus tour, and I brought Kanye on that tour. Common, as part of his show, always kept a planned, not a planned freestyle on deck. When I say planned, it means he has certain punchlines and certain things he would lean on, but he would change them city to city to city.
Yeah,
and it was watching Common do on stage what we used to do in the park and make it part of his show, you know, a good 5 years into my career, made me be like, oh man, I gotta get my freestyle back up. You know what I'm saying? So Common influenced me, and then I got it back up while I was on tour with Common. We was freestyling back and forth again. I fell off with it again. A couple of years ago, I signed an artist named Nico Is. Nico Is, you know, and like I said, I come from the Supernatural, Juice, Craig G era. Nico Is, I never heard nobody freestyle like that. And this guy freestyle in 3 languages, Portuguese, Spanish, and English. I never heard no shit like that. And Nico made me be like, oh man, like I gotta start freestyling again.
There's an energy to it because as a listener, you're like, is he gonna resolve this? Like, did he just paint himself into a corner he can't get out of? And then when you get out like Houdini, people are like,
right.
There's a tension and release to it.
I was on, here's an example, I was on Tony Touch on Tuesdays with Yo Droog, my new artist K Valentine, whose album dropped today, go get K Valentine's album, and Raekwon, who dropped the album last week, right? Yeah. And Yo Droog, his first time I met him, you know what I'm saying, but he was hungry. I'm not hungry to freestyle. I'm not. I'll be honest, I am not hungry to freestyle. Yeah. I do it because it's fun, but it's not something I feel like I have to do to prove myself. Droog was like, immediately, Tony Touch loved the freestyle. Sure. So Tony was like, I'm gonna throw on a beat. Droog was immediately like, nah. He wasn't freestyling. Right. But he was kicking an impressive rhyme. Now me, all my good rhymes, I record them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have no, back in the days I had overflowing notebooks of rhymes that I couldn't wait. Now, I don't got no extra rhymes, you know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as I write something dope, I'm recording it and I'm putting it out. So I'm looking at Drew like, oh shit, like he sound dope. What am I gonna do? I don't got no rhymes. So I started freestyling. And to my surprise, like I said, I held my own, like I did my thing. I felt good. And I felt good because I'm like, you was kicking a written rhyme, I was freestyling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of that too.
Right, but then Drew, he heard me, then he started freestyling. Yeah. And he was dope. But I'm glad, I was glad that I was able to go back 10, 15 years and pull that skill set back out when I needed it.
I know you perform with a band. How's the band thing compared to having a DJ behind you? I mean, what's the different energy?
The band allows me to go places musically that I can't go with a DJ. Yeah. But ain't nothing more hip hop than an MC and a DJ. So when you're performing hip hop music with a band, whether there's a DJ or not, you are actually performing a version of hip hop music. Yeah. An interpretation of hip hop music. Because hip hop is a DJ. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And then we got the roots.
Yeah, the best, you know, Amir is a scientist with this shit, but
yeah. But
the challenge with the band,
a DJ in a
weird
way.
Yeah, the challenge with the band is what I didn't know because I'm not, you know, I don't know these things. Like, you know, producers are making beats and they be out of tune. And a band now, they've been trained to play everything in tune, so it's like this weird conflict.
Detuning.
Yeah, to figure out how to do it. So when I perform with my band, it's really, I'm just doing versions of hip hop songs, which I enjoy doing. But I mean, there's nothing trumps a DJ and an MC when it comes to creating hip hop music in a live set.
And you're DJing too.
Yeah, I'm selecting.
Okay, the difference between a DJ and a selector.
I'm a hell of a selector.
Yes,
I'll take the Pepsi challenge. I mean, maybe not the Pepsi challenge. I'll take the challenge with anybody. You know, with the selector. I mean, there's real DJs, and then I'm a musicologist. I know a lot about. I know a lot about songs in the club.
Yeah. Okay, couple things. Back to the studio. When you record, because these everyone here, not everybody, a lot of people here are studio heads. One ear off or both headphones on?
When I record vocals?
When you record vocals?
I have both headphones on.
Both headphones on?
Both ears on.
Okay. And
it's like a world. It's like going in a world for me.
Is the music loud in your headphones? Or medium?
Loud enough. I'm soft spoken, I have a soft voice, so I'm always telling engineers to turn my vocals up. Always.
Do you have a mic that you like or you don't care?
Nah, I don't. I trust my engineer. You know what I realize though is that I have at this point maybe 3 recording engineers that I trust. What I've learned is I'd rather fly my dude in. Yeah. 3,000 miles. I'd rather fly my engineer to France than go book a studio or work with somebody I don't know.
Chemistry.
Yeah, that's what I've learned.
Chemistry.
You end up, it's just more efficient in the long run.
Yeah. All right, let's see how we're doing on time. Let's shift gears a little bit to current hip hop, the newcomers. Who's your top 5 right now?
It's a revolving door, and it's too hard of a question.
Okay.
I mean, what I will say is that Black Thought from the Roots is probably the only one who constantly remains in the
Tariq.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on my mood. I might one day feel like MF Doom is the best, or one day I might feel like Ghostface, or one day it might be Biggie or Jay-Z, or it might be Scarface one day, or it might be Jean Grey, or it might be Pharoah, depending on my mood.
Okay, so that's fair. Where were you the first time you heard Drake?
First time I heard Drake, it was a girl that I was crushing on just a little bit, and she was from LA. She was a cute girl from LA, and I was in her car, and she was like, "Have you ever heard of Drake?" I was like, "No." He had a mixtape out, and then she played me the mixtape, and she was so excited, and she kept telling me how she relates to Drake, and he talks about her feelings, and I was listening, and I was like, what I was impressed by was he had a song with Trey Songz. I was like, how does this dude from Degrassi have a song with Trey Songz? That's impressive. I was impressed that he had a song with Trey Songz on his free mixtape.
Yeah.
And then there was another cute girl from LA who, like all the cute girls from LA liked Drake. And so that impressed me.
I think he's an interesting example of sort of a guy who puts intelligence first. Not he's got his commercial songs and all that stuff, but I think he built his fan base on a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of self-humor, a little bit of self-reflection and sadness. And
definitely some sadness.
And some sadness, yeah. Wedding planner, and she moved to Atlanta.
Drake has a lot of feelings.
Yeah,
we all do, but Drake has been brave enough to share his feelings.
That's the word, brave enough to, and because emotions are energy. People are scared of energy, scared of emotions, but you can get a whole lot of people together if you're emotional. And I think he did that well. When you heard him, were you like, this is gonna be the next big thing, or you're like, here's another dude?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was blown away by. I just real quick, I don't have a problem with ghostwriters, because to me the song is king.
Sure.
Whatever you need to do to make the song hot, do it. You need to bring another MC, whatever. Like I may not like, but what I don't not like. So when I heard about Drake and OVO having these writing camps, and and I heard the original versions of songs he did, it didn't make me respect Drake less.
Yeah.
It made me respect myself more. Because it made me be like, because I'm looking at Drake and I'm like, the fuck? Like, how are you this productive and this proficient? How are you this good?
It's not humanly possible.
How are you this good, bro? I'm going to Drake shows and I'm like, I'm looking around and I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm like, man, I'm looking at Drake's show, I'm looking at Drake. When I see an artist doing as well as Drake, it makes me want to do better.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Drake like, man, I gotta get on my grind. So when I heard of that about the ghostwriting stuff, I'm like, oh. Oh, it made me want to get some damn ghostwriters. For real.
It'd be a hard job to be a ghostwriter for you.
Hey, look, it made me want to get some ghostwriters for real, yo. Because I'm like, because no doubt Drake has been a ghostwriter for other people.
Sure.
He learned the game.
Yeah.
And what I did hear when I first heard Drake was, I was blown away when I first heard him, but I've been more blown away by him in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But when I heard about the ghostwriting thing, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes it make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me respect it any less, but it makes me be like, okay, maybe I wasn't as hard on myself as I was before.
Yeah, 100%. Who else right now moves you where you're like, okay, this is new, this is modern, it's a different context, different political, everything's different, but they have that thing. They have that real. Who
I mean, I work with young artists that I hear and I feel like need a platform like Kay Valentine and Nico is. But I mean, just like any person who's passionate about hip hop music, I like Chance the Rapper, I like Kendrick, I like J. Cole, I like all those type of guys. I like Rhapsody a lot. We work closely together. But I'm not as familiar. Future is now moving into, old school, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
if you're a young kid from Atlanta listening to Migos, Soulja Boy is old school to you.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really like the Migos.
Yeah.
I like what they do a lot. I like what they do musically, rhythmically. That T-shirt song is the shit. But Hannah Montana's the shit. I'm inspired by people who are passionate about what they do.
How about Logic?
Logic is dope. Logic is dope as fuck.
I think Logic is not cut from the same cloth, but he's got that 90s technical ability, and he also can pack a lot of words into 8 bars or 16 bars.
Logic is someone who has a lot of respect for the culture, who has figured out his position and his lane, and he's figured out how to navigate the new venues and containers in which people receive their music, but still sort of pay homage to the culture in his own way, in a way that a lot of artists have not been able to.
I mean, I have a 14-year-old son, and it's so funny because they're bringing back the 90s, these 14-year-old kids. And it's cool that they have the ear for it. And I think we have
90s hip hop, and this is something that I've come to realize now. I didn't realize this even a few years ago. Like when EDM was really, really, really huge.
Yeah.
The hottest part of the night is still when you play Annie Up. No matter what. Like 90s hip hop is the best sounding hip hop. And I hesitated to say that for years because I felt biased because I grew up on 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
I felt biased by saying that because I truly feel like people say that whatever they heard in high school or college is the best because you're developing who you are as an individual.
And this nostalgia of where you were at that time.
Yeah, you assign music to your memories, and your memories are the best.
Yeah.
So as your parents will tell you, the music when they were in high school was the best.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell your kids, you're listening to nonsense. What I listened to in high school was the best. So I try to stay away from that. But as someone who makes my living entertaining people, and I spend my life in nightclubs, I see what happens when 90s hip hop gets played, and I see how 90s hip hop is not going anywhere. It's become a staple, like hip hop in general. You know,
it's classic rock.
It's classic rock.
It's classic rock.
It's our classic rock. Yeah.
And you're a legend in classic rock.
Well, I came out in '98, so I'm just.
But you still have that vibe. And
I
you
grew
started
up
with
on
that.
that.
Yeah, 100%. What do you like to tour? Is it just part of the job? You know, for everyone else, it's like, oh, you go on tour, it must be glamorous, and then it's also repetitive.
It can be both. It can be glamorous and it can be grueling. And the hardest thing in the world to do is not to work for another motherfucker. The hardest thing in the world to do is to be independent and be your own boss. And I love touring. I love rapping on stage. Hip hop, at its essence, exists in a live space. So when I'm on stage, that's a prayer. That's the essence of what I do. But I'm a working class artist. I'm not a rich man. As much as I love touring, I tour more than any rapper because I have to. Because it's how I feed myself. I'm trying to move myself into a space where I don't tour because I have to. I tour because I want to. I don't complain about it because I love it so much.
Yeah. Is there a country where you're like, I love going there. I love going to Japan, even though it's a long flight, just because everyone's so celebrates you. Or is there a place you love to go where you're like, I'm home?
I'm blessed to tour consistently all over the globe. I will say that Germany, as a country, is a place that I could do like a month just doing German cities.
Yeah.
You know, like Germany really has a lot of love for my type of hip hop.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a place you haven't been that you would like to go? I think you've been everywhere a few times, but like.
I haven't been to Malaysia.
Okay.
There's a lot of Asian countries. You know, I haven't been to India. I haven't been to.
I'm surprised.
No, I've been to, you know, South Korea. I haven't been to Thailand. I've been to Japan. I've been to China. That's the only places in Asia I've been. I would like to do more in Asia.
Do you like to tour for 4 months and then kind of? I know you have kids and family life too. Do you like to go hard and then take 4 months and just be around?
I can't imagine not doing shows for 4 months. That's never happened.
Okay. Ever.
But I mean, like I said, I would like for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What in a perfect world, what's the next 5 years look like for you? What are your personal goals? What would you like to see?
In a perfect world?
In a perfect world.
Kay Valentine and Nico Ayers go platinum, and I move to San Juan. In a perfect world.
I'm into that. So when you're in San Juan, what do you do?
I'll El Yuke at the rainforest, and I'll hang out with Tego, and I'll eat my Funko.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Because reality has always been part of your, a cornerstone of your brand. And you've brought that to politics. I saw the Don Lemon crazy madness. We saw Kanye cancel a tour, kind of get disheveled. And then we wake up and we see he's hanging out with Donald Trump, and you reacted. You couldn't keep quiet. You couldn't keep quiet, and you didn't think it was probably responsible to be quiet. Everyone can't be quiet all the time. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, Kanye West is an icon. He's a genius. He's one of my favorite musicians. I mean, he's literally one of the best we've ever seen. When a man says he's a genius, people might take him to be arrogant, but it's true. He's given me life. A lot of people say, oh, they see a meme and be like, I'm dead. Or they see something they like, and they see shoes online, they're like, oh, the shoes give me life. I'm not being hyperbolic. Kanye West has literally given me life. He produced Get By. He wrote that hook. He's given me life. I have a lot of love for the man. I consider him a good friend. Because he's in a stratosphere of celebrity that I'm not, I don't spend a lot of time with him. Last time I really spent a lot of time with him was around the time he was doing the beautiful, twisted, dark fantasy album.
Yeah.
And so I watch him like we all do from afar. That's my man. He comes out, he says some wild shit, I defend him. You know what I'm saying? When he said what he had to say about Trump and Jay-Z, I spoke on it online before he went to see Trump. I spoke publicly to him. The reason why I chose to speak publicly to him on Twitter is because he publicly reached out to Jay-Z on stage. So I'm like, if you don't got Jay-Z number, if you can't get in touch with Jay, and you mad about that, you're gonna hear from me on Twitter, because I can't get in touch with you. So Kanye, just like Steve Harvey, just like Chrisette Michele, is somebody who came from a black community. Is somebody who cares about a black community. They come from poor people. They care about poor people. They are intelligent. However, for you to be as successful as a Kanye West, as a Steve Harvey, as a Chrisette Michele, too often you are isolated in a bubble and away from the realities of the conversations that are happening on the ground. Your perspective is skewed. You're not having these activist grassroots conversations. Your relationship with Donald Trump is, that's a rich, famous person too. You have more in common with that person than you do with someone who's dealing with the everyday realities. So if you're Steve Harvey, you hosted Miss Universe, you got a bag with Donald Trump. That's your relationship. If you're Kanye West, you was backstage at some event with him and he said, oh, I love your music, even though he body shamed your wife, you probably didn't even know about that. If you're Kanye West,
right.
You know what I'm saying? You probably don't know, Donald Trump in a couple of tweets and interviews had body shamed Kim Kardashian long before, he buddied up with Kanye West. But he body shames women so often that she just made it into his, you know what I'm saying? But Kanye West, I haven't spoken with the man, but from what I know about him, I don't think he knows about some of the vile things Kanye West, Donald Trump has said about his wife, has said about Native Americans with Elizabeth Warren, has said about Mexicans or Latinos in general, has said about black people, has said about Jews. I don't think Kanye West is aware of any of that. I think he's a rich person, celebrity. Yeah, maybe he doesn't, I don't align with him with everything he says, but I think that's the extent of it. And it's a lack of political education. It's celebrities being in a bubble. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just explaining what it is.
Understood. I've heard you say politics is an illusion. I heard you say you don't vote. Did you vote the last election?
I did. I voted this last election, and I voted for president this last election and two presidential elections.
Okay, so then that.
What I said, to be accurate,
so
I didn't say I don't vote.
Okay.
What I said is, no one automatically gets my vote.
Okay.
What I said is, I don't vote, I don't vote symbolically. I mean, I don't vote just because, people supposedly died for the right to vote. A politician has to earn my right to vote. Now, I voted for Hillary Clinton because I was naive, and I thought that Donald Trump had no shot.
So all of us.
Not all of us.
Well, in New York.
Not all of us. My working class friends who don't travel the world doing hip hop music, they knew that Donald Trump was going to win. That's why I have to accept, because they have to get on the train and ride with people who they don't know or don't like. They have to be in cubicles working with people who don't. I'm blessed, and I've earned the right to not deal with people who I don't agree with. I don't roll in circles. I don't roll with circles of people who support Trump. I don't know that life.
Did you stay up?
Well, let me just finish
No,
my point
sorry,
real quick, because
absolutely,
I know people
absolutely.
have a lot of issues with voting and everything.
No.
Like, my vote for Hillary, that's why I had to correct myself when I said I don't vote symbolically, because I do.
Understood.
My vote for Hillary Clinton was a symbolic vote. I knew that Donald Trump couldn't win New York. I knew that. But in case he did, win, I wanted to be able to say that I voted against Donald Trump.
100%.
So if in this country we have, regardless how you feel about it, we have a two-party system. Is it right? Is it fair? No. Should we have it? No. But at the end of the day, on November 8th, Gary, whatever his name is, Jill Stein, they don't matter on November 8th. That's the reality. They're not going to be president. Their campaign on November 8th is symbolic. If you have a problem with that, fight money in politics, fight the Electoral College. Don't be mad at how things are, you know what I'm saying? Just because you want them to be a different way. We had two choices. We had Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. You could choose to sit it out, which in that case, you're casting a vote for whoever won, which is Donald Trump. Or you could, so my vote for Hillary Clinton was symbolic. But yeah, if people have jumped on that, the Kweli doesn't vote thing. I just don't think a politician is owed my vote just because they're a Democrat.
I think it was a misinformation and oversimplification of something that people jumped on, and it doesn't take much to get people to jump these days, does it? With the misinformation thing. Did you stay up and watch CNN and watch the whole thing fall down?
Not only did I do it, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I was on Jesus and Mero's show at the time, and it was supposed to be fun, but no one was having any fun.
No.
I bet a troll on Twitter a year before the election, $5,000 that Donald Trump was gonna lose. And the bet wasn't he give me $5,000. The bet was if Donald Trump wins, I give you $5,000. If Hillary wins, you spend $250 at my store, QualityClub.com. That was the bet. I felt like I had
Safe bet. Should be a safe bet.
Yeah,
But
I lost that $5,000, so fuck Donald Trump.
Yes, understood. How did you feel the
And I don't have $5,000 to lose. Just so y'all know, I'm not in a position, I can't afford to lose I'm a man of my word, that's why I paid it out. But I can't afford to lose $5,000. That just goes to show you how naive I was, how overconfident. I was willing to bet money I didn't have to lose. That's how confident I was.
Nobody thought it was gonna
No,
really
the
happen.
dude who won the $5,000,
Okay.
he knew.
Sure. Did you wake up that morning after having the first African American president for 2 terms who inherited a terrible situation? And if he's not the Messiah, okay, he's not the Messiah, but he did an excellent job, in my opinion. He really did. Turned a lot of things around, dealt with a lot of negativity, kept his cool, was a real president. To go from that to this, did you wake up in the morning and just like, this can't be happening?
I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. Because look, I used to pride myself on calling elections. I was like, presidential politics is not rocket science. You look at the landscape, you can tell. I look at the landscape, I'm like, Hillary Clinton's got this. There's no way she's gonna lose. It was a point of pride for me. For me to be so wrong, I had to reevaluate my privilege, my standing in life, my relationship with people, my relationship with the struggle. I'm someone who's known to be in touch. I'm rarely wrong.
Yeah.
I'm rarely wrong.
I was wrong too.
And I was wrong, so I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose to not be that wrong again. And I went to the last party at the White House. Me and Wale was vaping it up in the White House.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? Me and a couple other people I won't name was, taking souvenirs and stuff. Cause we don't know when the next time they gonna let niggas in the White House.
Brooklyn's in the house. Okay, I think we're at a good point where we can start to take some questions from the audience if you're ready.
I'll go around with the mic, guys, if you
And we'll this won't be scientific, but we'll try to get to everybody. I saw you first.
I'm second.
You're second.
Nice. All right. Check. All right.
Peace.
I just wanted to know, like I see it as levels. Like you have street level, and then you have a professional level. In your coming up, what was your break point from the street level into the professional field, and the break point from the professional field to coming out to the world?
Well, one, the first thing I want to say is the word professional. I think I have to be careful with how I deal with it, because I became an artist so that I wouldn't have to be a professional. You know what I'm saying? Like, being professional can be a great strategy and tactic for an artist, but it's not a requirement. Nina Simone was often not a professional, but it doesn't taint her legacy in any way. As a matter of fact, it may even add to her legacy. You know, my good partner in rhyme, Mos Def, if you ever, or Lauryn Hill, if you ever bought a ticket to one of their shows and they didn't show up, you know that they are not professionals sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But you still love them for what they've contributed to the culture. It doesn't take away from what they do. But the moment that I knew that it was serious for me as a career, and I define success by doing what you love for a career. If you do what you love for a career, I don't care if you're living in a cardboard box or if you're living in a mansion. If you do what you love and you call your own shots, you're a success to me. 45 Live, like my father had all that vinyl. My first single was 45 Live with Mos Def and Mr. Man on Raucous. When I got that vinyl, and I was able to take that piece of vinyl and show it to my parents, who were like, "You gonna get a job or what?" You know what I'm saying? When I was able to show my parents that vinyl, like I told them I'm gonna rap, but they like, "Rap? Nah, it's like, that's like being a lacrosse player for a living. It's like, nobody does that." You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the white kids who play lacrosse really good in high school, and it's like, what are you doing with the skill? But being able to show my parents that piece of vinyl, that was a turning point, because they were like, "Oh, like you rap." You know what I'm saying? That was a moment.
You, sir.
Sure. I wanted to know, like, what's your method for increasing numbers? You got multiple albums and everything, but how do you steadily increase them, or at least stay the same with your numbers?
With the number of albums I'm creating?
No, number of sales and getting new fans. Like, how do you continue to increase that threshold?
Don't nobody buy albums. Yeah, people stopped buying albums years ago. I mean, people still buy like Drake and Adele's albums.
Right.
You know, people like that, like big box artists that have major corporations behind them get sales. But the majority of artists that all of us in this room love, the majority, there's a percentage, 5, 10%, 50% of artists that still have huge sales. But the majority of our artists that we all claim to love, I mean, Chance the Rapper, every time I've been to the White House, he was there with a hat on, 3 hat on. You know what I'm saying? I see Chance the Rapper at the Grammys. I see Chance the Rapper in Fortune magazine as one of the top influencers of right now, right along with Elon Musk.
Independent.
He's never sold a record. He hasn't sold one record. So he shattered that myth. Record sales mean nothing. And so my cultural currency has never, ever, ever been based on record sales. Never. I have gold albums in my house. Reflection Eternal went gold, but the industry already kind of shut down before Reflection Eternal went gold. So I don't have a gold plaque for that. Ain't nobody sent me no plaque for that. You know what I'm saying? I got a plaque for Roots, Phrenology album, I think. I got a plaque for Mos Def, plaque on both sides. But like, sales have never been the driving force.
About the fans side, though.
What you mean?
Increasing fans, like, because probably everybody here know you, but
Right.
like, you wanted to gain a new fan. What's your method to do? I know you do the shows, but
Right.
are there any other things?
Just being myself. A lot of people like being who I am and showcasing my personality, never backing down, never being apologetic. There's a lot of MCs that are great, that are my age, that came out when I came out, that don't have 1 million followers on Twitter or Facebook, that are not doing 200 shows a year, that are respected for their craft like I am, but are not as relevant to the culture as I've become. And I attribute that to not being scared to say things that are unpopular. And I attribute it to not, like, people tell me all the time, "Kweli, why are you on Twitter so much? Why are you doing this and that, this and that?" Like, Like I went to the White House because of that. Like I tour because of that. I don't have millions of marketing dollars. I have my personality and my activist work. So when people say, do you feel like you're blacklisted? Do you feel like you've suffered for speaking out for social justice? No.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's been self-serving to a certain degree because it enhances my relationship with the people and keeps the community engaged, whether I have a hit record or not.
Absolutely.
You, sir.
Yeah. So.
1 2 1 2. So I know that you mentioned, you started off with Ruckus. You started your hip hop thing. You're from Brooklyn. Just reflecting, you said that the Migos, you really like their music. They're ATL rappers. They really do like the trap sound. From you coming from a hip hop perspective, how would you feel from the time you started rapping to now, like the way music has progressed, the type of beats that are being played, especially on the radio? DJs really have it really easy, the same BPM,
Yeah.
the same hi-hat snare. Like, where do you fit in as a producer standpoint or engineer standpoint? What type of music do you see where hip hop is going?
Hip hop is gonna go where the people go, and it's not. I'm 41. I'm born in '75. So as a 41-year-old man, it's not at all my place to dictate where hip hop is supposed to go for a 20-year-old who's listening to hip hop. It's his turn. It's his turn to decide what it's gonna be. Now, I'm not threatened by it because I know that what I do is classic. I know that I come from a classic era, and I know that things are supposed to change. I also know that when I was 20 years old, listening to Mobb Deep, listening to Wu-Tang, listening to Nas, 41-year-olds were telling me that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So is when I was 20 years old, I was telling them, you old, bro. Like, it's not your place to tell me what's hot now. It's my turn. You know what I'm saying? So I've established myself as a legacy artist, and I learned from, there's new ways for people to hear music. There's new containers, new sounds, new everything. I learn from that and apply it to what I do. So to answer your question, I remain relevant by paying attention to the trends, seeing where the trends are going, but not bowing to them. I said on Vlad TV recently how I respected rappers like Yachty and all these other rappers because of how they're able to get their music out there. A lot of people took offense to that because they're like, I think my statement was, us as traditional hip hop people, we have a lot to learn from how they're able to get their music out to people. And people thought I meant we have a lot to learn creatively. I don't have to learn from Yachty creatively, even though I do. I don't have to, But what I have learned from him is how to, and other artists like him, Soulja Boy and the like, is how to get their music out there. When Soulja Boy first came out, the way that he put his music out there was genius. It was absolute genius. It made me wish that I had thought of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't have to like your music or be from your region or your age or be inspired by what you were inspired by to recognize your greatness.
Excellent. I know we've been working the front. You guys got the good seats for the question, but it's not fair. And this side too is we got to represent. But I want to go to the back just for fun. Who's in the back? Ryan, find someone in the back. Yes, you, sir.
Okay.
If the mic doesn't work, just shout.
I
Okay.
got a deep question,
Okay, deep question.
So,
Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
how would you mentor a new artist and how to survive long-term in the music industry?
I'm doing that right now. Her name is Kay Valentine. She dropped her debut album today. So, yes, you can clap for Kay Valentine. Even though you never heard of her, you can clap for her. That's an excellent question for today because Kay Valentine is the living, breathing example of that. When I met Kay Valentine, she came to my show backstage in Chicago. She told me she rapped. She was cute, and I was having a party that night, so I invited her to my party. She came to the party, and she was like, yeah, I rap. I was like, all right, man, play me your little raps. And she did, and I was blown away. And so I wasn't sure if she was ready, though, for prom time. So I liked her a lot. We became friends, so I made a deal where I was like, I'll produce a mixtape for you. I'll help you get beats. I'll help get it on the blogs. I'll promote it. You can come and open for me at shows. You're down with the crew. But I didn't sign her to the label. The mixtape was called $1 Million Baby. We put it out. The mixtape is really good. She leveled up. She did better and better and better. So I signed her to my label. We've been in the studio with her. We've had arguments. There was times that I sent her beats she ain't like because I had to realize that she had her own vision. We argued about live instrumentation because me at this stage in my career, I feel like if you add live instrumentation in the long run, your music becomes more classic and it goes further. You know, I listen to albums, hip hop albums that incorporated live instrumentation now more than I did, you know, when they first came out. You know, she really, you know, it was hard for her. It was a growing process. Now her album is called Here for a Reason. About a year ago, she got in a terrible, terrible car accident. So when she came out of it, no broken bones, she was like, I'm here for a reason. I'm on the album, Styles P on the album, BJ the Chicago Kid, Tweet, Scotty ATL. It drops today. We dropped the video Family with Billboard.com today. And so K Valentine is someone who I've mentored, who now we have the product of this mentorship, and I'm very proud of her. I hope that y'all check her out.
Now we're gonna go to the middle, just to be fair. Someone in the middle.
Good, we good?
Yes,
How you doing? My name Roddy Rod Swanson. I go to the Institute of Audio Research.
Yes, sir.
And like I'm hearing that you know, growing into like, you know, doing your thing with Nico Wiz and K Valentine. So you pretty much, you know, putting together a label. I was wondering how could I get in the studio with them?
With them?
Yeah, with them.
Both of them are very prolific online, and both of them are very gracious and open to working with other artists. You know, if you hit K Valentine or Nico on their Instagram or Twitter right now and say something like that, I guarantee they'll hit you back and they respond. But yeah, you know, Javoti Media is absolutely, I'm trying to build a community. And I'm not a businessman, so I have no interest in, you know, being a capitalist more than I need to be. I didn't sign them artists because I'm looking at them like, ooh, I'm about to really kick up, even though that would be the perfect scenario if they went platinum. But I work with them because I have a blueprint that works for me that I feel like can help them out. And they earn their places, so I'm very, very happy that you as an artist wants to work with them because that adds to the community that we're trying to build.
We gotta go to this side. You, sir. Yes. In the front.
What's good, man? My pops, he put me on to the last ones with you and Styles P. That shit fire.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait till the album drop. So my thing is, I kind of get the gist of what you're talking about, like, or who you may be talking about. I just want to know if you have any advice for, like, when you reach that level of success, how to keep sanity and not go crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you talking about when I said all my rap friends went crazy? That was, you know, I was being hyperbolic and funny, and I was poking fun with that. You know, people make fun of a lot of my, you know, a lot of rappers from Common to Mos to Kanye that I've been associated with. People have questioned, you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, I mean, I think that these people are not crazy, they're just sane reactions to a crazy world. And I think that when you're that passionate about music, and that's the only way that you know how to express yourself, is it becomes hard. I think Kanye West is a sponge, and he soaks things in. He's real sensitive and emotional, and soaks things in, and feels things in a deep way that most of us can't feel. I mean, I was offended by Kanye's Trump comments. It's probably the first time that Kanye offended me. I've not agreed with many things he said, but that I wasn't offended by them. You know, Trump thing that crossed a line for me personally. But I think that when you're as confident as a Kanye West, or as confident as a Mos Def, or as confident as a Dave Chappelle, that people who are not confident, it terrifies them. You know, and then they call you crazy.
Two more questions. You got one in the back, and then we'll go to one in the front.
Yeah, I need
and
to
we gotta
get some
the
questions
ladies
for
too.
that's what I was just about to say.
Let's try to keep it properly
It's gonna be
balanced.
quick and fast.
Okay.
First and foremost, I went to school with John Forte, so I know. I went to Philip Scott.
Philip Scala,
Yes,
I already knew.
yes,
You went to school with Free too.
Yeah, and Dante.
Right, Dante went to Philip Scala.
He was older than me.
Right,
Like, he was a grade up.
Right, Free is from a dual live, in case y'all don't know. There's a classic Brooklyn hip hop group.
Exactly. So when, Top Billin' came out, that was like 88. That's when, we were all proud, because he went there too.
Yeah.
Milk went to Philip Scott too.
Yeah.
My main thing is, how accessible are you, bro? Like, as far as doing spots and things like that, are you easy to kind of get in contact with? Because it's funny, like, the circles, like, I travel, it's like almost less than 6 degrees, where I'm like, man, like, that's why I even came today.
Right.
I'm like, actually, I have to say a shout, and I'm gonna mention the government, but as far as Mrs. Green, she hired my mom at Mega. My mom is an English professor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot, you know what I'm saying?
doubt,
So I'm like, yo, this cat, like, is definitely, I'm working on a project right now. I was doing this R&B positive black love thing, and I'm just like, wow, if I could get this cat to a spot, like, how easy are it to get in touch with your production company or like things like that?
I'm fairly easy to get in touch with, and I like working with artists, but it's art is organic, and if anybody wants to get in touch with me, my website, QualityClub.com. Not QualityClub.com, that's the store. The website is TalibKweli.com. It has the emails. Those emails don't go directly to me, but they go directly to the person right next to me. I'm definitely very, very easy to get in touch with. And if the situation is right, then it's right.
Yes, okay. 2 ladies back to back. Who was here? I saw a hand. Is there still a question?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
I was just curious to know, because I'm from like Brooklyn too, and like a lot of my friends are from Coney Island, and it's just kind of like
Coney Island.
Yeah. I just want to know how to like coming up in the industry. How did you kind of just keep yourself going and motivated? Because I have moments where I'm just unsure of myself, but I always make sure like at the end of the day I'm trying to just bring up like the people I'm growing up with. Mm-hmm. So how do you fight that?
It's second nature. I think for hip hop, people who participate in hip hop, is not art that you put on the wall and appreciate with no connection to culture. It's a natural resource. It's food, air, water is what we breathe and eat and take in. It's nutrition. It's not separate from who we are as people. So it's just like brushing your teeth and taking care of your kids. It's not something that I spend any time thinking about being motivated by. It's just something that I'll die if I don't get it out. So a lot of times people will mistakenly, there's people who fetishize hip hop, and people who say to me, I argue and debate with people online a lot, and there's a lot of white supremacists who come at me, and there are a lot of times one of the things they say is, well, if it wasn't for your fans, or when people come at Lauryn Hill, if it wasn't for your fans, you would be nobody. If it wasn't for you, and it's like, well, slow your roll. You know what I'm saying? Because my exchange with my fans, I earned that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you bought my album, you got something that lasts a lifetime. Shit, you might owe me more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, on the real, because I feel like I owe Lauryn Hill a lot more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether she shows up again or not. Just from what she's given me and my daughter and my family and women and the culture, she don't owe me shit. And something I always have to tell these people is, I was the same person doing this in my room, in junior high school, in the lunchroom, with no fans. Having fans, having accolades, getting rewarded, getting acknowledged, getting record sales. That's never been a driving force. It was never a motivator. So it doesn't become a motivator when it starts happening. It's always been inside of me. And it's gonna be inside of me whether I'm famous or not, whether I'm known or not. It's just part of who I am as a person.
Yes.
So aside from the fact that I do wear your merchandise and pay for your merchandise and I support your art to the fullest, I bought every album. Being that
She got that at QualityClub.com, right?
I actually got it at Brooklyn Bowl at the show that it came out for. Which
I'm at Brooklyn Bowl
DJing
every last Thursday for Bowl Train, and me and my band are at Brooklyn Bowl on May 2nd and 3rd if y'all want to come.
That's my birthday, so I'll be there May 2nd.
Celebrate.
Being that we're in the structure of an educational building, and to keep the education going, you've been a prolific writer since the beginning of your career, what is a book that has been a game changer for you that you can suggest for everybody here to read that can kind of like open their mind?
If I had to pick one, it would be Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Okay.
His contradictions, his humanness, his compassion, his intelligence, his eloquence, his story. For him to have been considered a petty street criminal, to become one of the most honest, beautiful, passionate leaders of the world, it shows me what anybody can be. Malcolm is a hero of mine. I consider myself a student of Malcolm. So there's many books, but if I had to pick one, that would be the one.
Can we get a signed copy of that in the library here?
I sell that book at QualityClub.com. I'm just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello? Yeah. How you doing? I just want to know, do you have a creative process, or like, how do you go about making your songs and like your albums, like the concepts for your albums? Like,
Yeah, every song, every album is different. If you name the song or name an album, I can answer that question more specifically. But respiration?
I mean, yeah, just in general, like, what do you do? Like,
In general, there's never no in general, but like for respiration, Common was my favorite MC at the time. We were working on a Black Star album. Hi-Tek gave me a beat that ended up being the beat for Sharpshooters, a song I got with Dead Prez, and I literally chased Common down. I went to a show at Tramps in New York. I went to a show in San Diego at the Belly Up Tavern. His manager, Derek Dudley, used to sun me and curve me and all that, and keep me out the backstage. And I used to be like, I have a record deal. Believe me, please. And he would not let me get to Common. And then Mos Def was opening for Common at a show in Chicago, and I took the Amtrak so I could go watch the show. And then after a year, I got with Common, and I said, me and Mos Def are doing this album. Please get on the song. And Hi-Tek came with me. And that night we went to Streeterville Studios in Chicago, and I played the beat, and Common and Mos Def were like, you got another beat? I'm like, no. I've been chasing you with this beat for a year. You're gonna rap to this beat.
And you're gonna like it.
You're gonna like it. And then Hi-Tek pulled out the rough of the respiration beat, and everybody was like, well, we like this one better. So I was voted down. And so we recorded it that night, but I'm glad that we changed the beat.
For one more, so go back over here.
Check. What traps or like, let's say, malices in the music industry that you say we would need to avoid, or you experience that you think upcoming artists would avoid? And then as a DJ, when you do your sets, is it always just with the vibe of the environment, or you have like a pre-set?
Right. To the first question, the first thing I could say is sign your own checks and manage yourself. Receipts. Keep receipts. Have if it's about your business and your art, have every single conversation on email, so that you can refer back like, that's not what you said, bro. I got the receipt. You know what I'm saying? People will have conversations and then be like, and then it'll be he say, she say. Even if you have a conversation that's not on email, relate it, make an email about the conversation. As soon as you get off the phone with a manager or label, send everybody an email and be like, so this is what we talked about, this is what we agreed to, so that's there. Because just now, I had to sue an artist I was working with. Let me not speak on that. There's artists out there that could be fucked up. I had to sue my manager. I can speak on that. He was profiting off of Liberation, my album Madlib. He was profiting off an album I did called Right About Now. I never made no money from these albums because he put it up through his iTunes account. And so I had to I paid tens of thousands of dollars in lawyer fees to get, my album Right About Now got taken down from iTunes 2 weeks ago. It's been up since 2005. I've never seen a dime for it. This is one of my most popular songs, a song called Miss Hill, is on that album. I can't imagine how many people have bought that song. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why I was able to, I'm in these lawsuits, crushing niggas in these lawsuits right now. because I'm able to pull up the receipts. I'm able to like, that's not what you said. Here's the email, and people get annoyed with it. I have emails from 2006, 2007. Like, this is what you said, bro. Yeah, like, and it's been a saving grace for me. As far as DJ sets, I came into the DJ world as a celebrity DJ, naive, entitled, arrogant, getting booked in the huge Vegas clubs because of who I am, and I'm going in there, and I started DJing because you be in the club and you be like, why he play that record? Why he cut that record off? You be annoyed, you be like, I could have did a better job than that, but you can't. You know what I'm saying? Until you actually doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's arrogant to think that, and I learned quickly. You go into a party with an idea of what you think is going to happen, and then you lose the dance floor. And then you're like, oh, then you realize the job of an MC is to master the ceremony. The people have to bow to your will. The job as a DJ is you have to follow the will of the people. Right. You're there to serve the crowd. It's a different skill set. I had to switch out of my MC mind of, nah, I'm the rapper, you came to see me, to I'm the DJ, I came to play for you. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I had to learn that, and it's made me a better musician. It's made me a better person. Knowing, and it's made me more intelligent. It's increased the way I love playing records at parties. Like, now I'm able to read the party. If I lose one person, I'm able to see that person and be like, let me try to, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely try to, but now that I can do that, the next step is to now go from that to controlling the flow of the party, which now I'm starting to learn how to step into. So I want to be a DJ like a D Nice or a Q-Tip or a Rich Medina. Rich Medina, I go to see Rich Medina play, he might not play a song I know for 45 minutes. I might not heard none of these records, but I'm still rocking with him because he's controlling the set. And yeah, he's still noticing the vibe of it, but I'm now stepping into that space where I'm happy about, where I can now utilize the set of serving the people to sort of leading them now.
One more? Is that fair?
These last two.
You're cool. As long as you're good, man, that's cool.
So, ground level, how would you say would be a great way to get to draw a buzz?
You know what? My experience now as a legacy artist is different from a new artist who's never drawn a buzz before. I wouldn't necessarily have that information. Like, when I said there's people who freestyle better than me, everybody was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's probably artists in this room, because of their engagement with their community and because of their knowledge of the internet or blogs or whatever, there's probably artists in this room who could post a song on their SoundCloud right now and get more hits today than I would get as a legacy artist posting a song on my SoundCloud. You know what I'm saying? Just because as younger, fresher people, someone who's listening to music now on Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube, they might not be checking for a Talib Kweli who's 15 albums in, who's already had the support of the music business. They might be checking for a newer, younger artist who's never had a shot. That might be more exciting for them. So I learned from that.
What about for you?
Well, for me, I try to take my cues from the younger artists. So, but without bowing to the trends. Like, I've earned a certain amount of privilege. I could just, you know, I could call up, if I'm putting out a new song, I'll call up, you know, Brian from DJ Booth and Chuck from All Hip Hop and Jenny and them from OK Player and my folks at Now Right, my folks at This Is 50, and I'll hit everybody up and be like, I'm dropping something new today. And I got back channels. I'm like Guccifer, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, like, what did you do before you got on that created your buzz?
Oh, so what I do 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I got my girl pregnant. And I had no choice but to make it in rap. And that's just real talk. I just went hard. Like, I was working at the bookstore. I was nice. I was respected. I was recognized. Me and John Forte was doing things. My name was buzzing in the little circles. You could see me on Lyricist Lounge. But, you know, I was going to college. I was in the bookstore. My girl got pregnant. I was like, I enveloped my life with hip hop. I went to every open mic. I bought every album. I listened to every radio show. I lived and breathed hip hop until that moment. Like, I remember that series of moments from my girl getting pregnant to me handing my mother that vinyl. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like every day waking up like, what do I have to do today? And I'm still like that now. I feel like I'm more like that now. Like now, yeah, like I'm up at 6, 7 every morning. You You know what I'm saying? I do take a lot of siestas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I take a lot of weed naps, you know what I'm saying? But I'm up with the early birds. You know?
OG Kush.
You should be good.
Yo, what's going on? My name is Chaz Cleveland. I'm from Brooklyn too, Crown Heights.
Hey.
I went to Schuyler. I got kicked out. So, I mean, my question is.
That's how you end up here at Institute of Audio Research. You get kicked out of regular school. You be creative and shit. Like, you know, I'll be creative.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely an artist. I rap, produce, make my own beats and everything. My question is, how do you get on these blogs for free?
How do you or how do I?
How do I get on the blogs for free?
That's the thing. I don't really know, but I would. This is what I will say. If anyone is out here is paying someone to be a publicist to get them on blogs, sometimes they be paying $250 or whatever. Give me don't. It's not worth it. That's just someone taking your money and doing nothing for you. You having your stuff on a blog for 20 minutes before they post about the next rap beef ain't gonna do something for you if it's not organic. If that person who's posting about you is only invested in that $250 or whatever you give them, someone writing about you on a blog has got to be because they came to your show, they bought your album, they are personally invested in it, or else it's not really worth it at all. And I will also say that there are artists on SoundCloud, artists on YouTube that get no blog love, who make a living, who we've never heard of. There's an artist named Daystorm Powers. YouTube artist. This motherfucker took me to the American Music Awards as his guest. I've never been to the American Music Awards. He was a YouTube star. He was getting an award for like best digital content. And I did a song with him that got a lot of views. So he had invited me. I was like, what? So it was like, we have to change our idea of what popularity is and what these blogs, really fuck these blogs, really. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of them is just vultures to the culture, like Fader, Complex, fuck them all. Like, OK Player, all hip hop, those are people who care about the culture and the blog is a side thing. But these people who are just about this blog life and just capitalizing on, I don't fuck with none of them. Like, I don't fuck with none of the blogs. And we don't need them, they need you. You don't need a blog. Blog needs you. Blogs are nothing without you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Really, it means a lot from all of us here. Thank you. Either you guys want to plug anything? I know you got some shows coming up, some merchandise. Anybody want to plug anything before we leave?
K Valentine this week. Styles P, Talib Kweli the next week. Anything else? Just QualiClub.com.
How about Mr. Daniel Wyatt too? Who helped us out tonight. Did a great job. Thank you guys.